las calles en el centro de la ciudad. Cara me quiere ver, nadie me quiere ayudar. Hambre, tengo frío y no sé qué hacer. El gobierno maldito me la va a deber. Porque yo soy indio, no debo de saberlo. Pasa ya mi tierra, no debe de suceder. Milicia del masacre, es injusto que no ven a mi pobre gente que no se lo merece.
Banda Scalavera, as always, with injusto, injustice. That's what's happening all over and here. But here we are, and hello, and welcome to It's Happening Show, community grassroots media for the people, by the people. I'm Jose Gloria.
And I'm Dylan Thompson. We are your hosts tonight.
We are your hosts, indeed.
Indeed. Well,
It's Happening is a movement of the heart and of the mind. It's the energy of the universe that creates waves inside us and all around us, which allows us to activate, motivate, then elevate vibrationally and intellectually towards love, truth, justice, and wisdom. It's happening in every which way.
It's Happening is a culture of empowerment. It's people having the right to exist and participate as equals. It's a dream of what the world could be, but the future we want is only possible if we make it happen. So stand up, get informed, and fight back.
Fight back. Are you okay? Yeah, you could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us, so we thank you. Because of you,
It's happening. Ooh, man.
Woo.
Nervous tonight.
Dude.
Yeah, just being in person, man.
I know. I'm still not used to you. I feel like...
I'm not used to you. Yeah, you're used to the barrier set up between the computer screen there. Yeah.
You know what a lot of people say now that, things are opening back up? Like, I think we should just keep the 6 feet distance from people. Like,
still, yeah.
There's
like
some people get too close to me, and I start at the grocery store. I start walking like in front of them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll put my car, like my card, between me and them.
Yeah.
Get back!
It's forced social distancing.
Yeah, it's just so much better. All right, I can hear the sound effects. This is going to be fun. All right,
Look out for that.
We're going to have an awesome show, amazing show even.
Oh, yeah.
In a little bit, we're going to have with us Fred Sigala Jr. and Vern Nelson, and we'll talk to them all about the recall campaign of Mr. Jordan Brandman.
Oh, yeah.
But before that, let's emotionally check in. How are you?
Oh my God, it's very tactile in here. It's very in person. Feeling good. Liking all the headphones, man. We're getting all professional with this stuff.
I know. I like it. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go through some quick stories.
Quick stories.
So the Peppa effect. American kids speak with a British accent thanks to pandemic.
Yeah.
So then, Mommy.
That is fascinating.
Mommy, may I go use the... I don't know what they I think they use a different word for toilet, but they be using
loo, perhaps.
May I please go use the loo?
Yeah.
Who taught you how to speak like that?
Yeah,
it was in Downton Abbey. So Peppa effect is what they're calling it.
Yeah,
because
crazy,
screen time, as the parents call it these days, is at an all-time high because of the pandemic. Because man, that screen is a great babysitter, I tell you.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's what the effect is, that we got a bunch of American kids speaking in British accents, which is not the worst thing. But yeah. Talking about eating mince pies and stuff, it's weird.
It's not American.
It's not American, man. America first.
Kippers.
Okay. Yeah, we got all sorts of stuff. Billionaires in space.
Oh yeah.
The space race between the billionaire race.
This planet's doomed. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, they're just like, we're good. We're out of here.
And leapfrog across the galaxy.
Yeah, but apparently, like the Virgin guy that went up there, Virgin CEO of Virgin. That sounds better.
You're mischaracterizing.
Whoa, wait, what are we talking about here? He didn't really go up to space. He just went really high into the atmosphere. So that's
doesn't count.
False advertisement, man.
False advertising.
Balls in your court, Mr. Amazon.
Yeah.
That's
Good
right.
luck.
Gone further than I have, for sure. So all sorts of stuff is happening. We got mask mandate is back in LA. Is OC next?
Probably at this rate. I mean, with the Delta, man, everything's on an uptick, right? So
It's but yeah, it's and the mask mandate is for indoor only. It's the outdoor. If you're if you're vaccinated, I think you're still in the clear. But as far as indoor for businesses and other places, mask mandate.
yeah, they're saying it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated now. Those who haven't gotten it, like those are the people that have. I mean, if you read the frickin' thing, like it says like the Johnson & Johnson, it gives you a 67% chance of not contracting critical or severe COVID. Doesn't mean you still can't get it and stuff. It's just less severe, right? So
Correct.
right.
Yeah. So that's what it was called, and Biden repeated that as well. He said, "Yeah, this is only a problem to the unvaccinated, or a bigger problem." Which is still a very large population, especially if you're Republican. So, damn it, call your uncles and aunts and tell them, in the South and Virginia, and be like, tell them it's time. Delta variant is really dangerous. So, we want to go back because now what are LA people gonna do when they got to go? Out, they're gonna have the suntan, the mask tan.
That's gonna be in, I think. That's
So in.
that's gonna be a sexy kind of tan.
Yeah.
line.
It's
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. This is a follow-up of the last show, or maybe the previous show, my story about crabs that they were blowing marijuana smoke at to get them high, because they thought that was going to be what made getting boiled alive less painful.
It didn't quite. Wasn't the magic bullet they were.
And the results came in, and that is not gonna work. It's just like, if you and I were to get boiled alive, like we'd be really high and be confused at first, and then we'd instantly be shocked, with pain. Why? Basically, so.
Or it's probably worse, if anything, right? Yeah, it's probably freaking out.
Yeah. So, PETA and all their friends are advocating against this practice, and so according to Newsweek.com, boiling lobsters alive is about to become illegal in UK thanks to animal welfare concerns. So, yeah, apparently you could just shock the thing before. So that's what they're saying. Chill it, chill it. It's like chill.
Let it chill. First.
Chill, lobster.
Cool.
Chill.
All right.
No, yeah, just put it in the freezer, I guess, and just like that's
So you
less.
freeze it to death?
Guess so.
That's better.
Or they electric on the neck.
Do they all have to be like weird cartoon executions? Okay, I guess it's always bad when you kill something.
It's like, can they hang it?
Yeah, what's a humane way to kill?
Tase the lobster.
Yeah. That's gonna be a whole industry, lobster tasers. Man, we better invest today.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to let everyone know about a unique investment opportunity for It's Happening crab and lobster tasers. Yeah. Anyway, Jose is our mascot. But,
Yeah. Yeah. So
yes,
according
look
to
into that. Look out for that.
there exists robust scientific evidence in support of crustaceans being sentient animals with the capacity to suffer. Humane slaughter legislation in most of the world has not been interpreted as applying to crustaceans. So it appears that this type of boiling causes physiological shock to the creatures who struggle violently for approximately 2 minutes after being placed in boiling water before they stop. So yeah, she goes on to say that this practice is unnecessarily cruel. There is much better ways to murder these little ocean cockroaches, as they're called.
Delicious,
Yeah,
delicious
bottom
ocean
dwellers.
cockroaches.
Add some butter on that. Yum yum.
Yeah, so are they actually saying, taser them to death? That's the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Just want to get it straight.
After chilling them.
after chilling
after
them.
you chill.
You chill them first, and then you zap them, and it's delicious. I hear it just adds this unique kind of electrifying flavor to the meat. So and under the bill, this will also include octopi, crabs, squid, and other sentient invertebrates, which is good because I saw that the octopus documentary about that dude that made a friend with that octopus, and they're really cool. I want a friend that's an octopus, and it can morph into different things. Yeah.
It's pretty dope. Yeah, shout out to all invertebrates.
Yeah.
Any invertebrates listening.
Yeah. Y'all my homies.
Yeah,
Got you.
yeah, we'll get to that later.
Damn,
we're skipping ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
guys.
we got we got some serious jokes from the Witty Committee here coming through.
Oh yeah, and last quick story. Yeah, there's this is Israeli surveillance or security company that sells their surveillance stuff to different foreign governments. And there's been a leak that The Guardian has looked into, among other media outlets, that suggests that journalists and different public figures have had this. It's basically malware. They've been hacked, and basically. It's not good. It's not happening here because we have our own shit, right? Like we got better shit. All these other it's a bunch of other countries, right, that have bought this. But if anything, we're funding this in a sense because we give so much money to Israel because this company works for the Israeli government, right? So it's all tied together. But I noticed that we are omitted from this. It's because we have a way better thing, right? Snowden already showed us. Like they have all that metadata stored away, right?
Yeah. Our government protects our rights, damn it.
Yeah.
They're not snooping into our emails and such.
But it's good to know that different governments have their own version of it, and it's proliferating, even being sold to foreign governments to be used by them. So, good times.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
We are in deep doo-boo.
Deep doo-doo indeed.
Yeah, so this is going to continue to be an issue. Tied to that, there's a lot of issues right now with, of course, like Facebook, Google, apparently Google Docs can look into your Google Docs, or Google can look into your Google Docs and eliminate stuff that they see as dangerous. So it's like, which makes me really sad because I love Google Docs. I thought I could trust you, Google. You too? You're a part of the conspiracy against me? Yeah.
It's always watching.
It's always, hey, brother.
It's always there.
Yeah. I just want to mention this real quickly because, I was really concerned about this. Apparently, there was a story out there that the Olympic was using anti-sex cardboard beds to stop athletes from
Olympic
partaking in that.
So eloquently stated, yeah.
Yeah, and good news is that's not the case. Yeah, it's actually
fake news.
Fake news. The Japanese government has actually been working on these for a couple years now, and the real reason is they're made out of cardboard, so they are easily disposable and have a less environmental impact. So. Good news, guys. You still can shack in those cardboard.
Yeah, they're good to go.
Yeah.
We tested them.
But it is an issue, and people are standing up against or saying athletes, because of COVID, please do not do what you've done for literally decades and shack up with people from other countries, because it's like they're at camp. What do you do at camp? You find you hook up with a girl a person that you're never gonna see again. It's harmless. Yeah. Olympic medal babies.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So that's good to hear. Yeah, but still
good to know.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Focus.
Yeah,
Focus,
come on.
guys.
Yeah, it's like boxers. They can't partake in that before a match, man. It'll drain you. That's gonna be their ploy. That guy, get him. Yeah, he'll be spent for the next day's race. All right, moving on to our top stories our guests here tonight.
There's even more stories.
Yeah. Starring Dylan Thompson.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, got some bad news, guys. So this federal judge said DACA is illegal, all right? And he's like, the Biden administration cannot add anyone else onto this program. So as things stand, anyone who's under now is not affected at this stage, right? Mm-hmm. But so what's Biden going to do, right? Because this judge is saying, the Congress should have done this. This should have been a legislative thing, right? And Biden's kind of apparently he's saying, well, the way we're going to get around the filibuster is by using reconciliation and put it in the budget. But if the parliamentarian says it's not okay, again, right, then he won't do it, okay? And this is as part of like making a pathway to citizenship for DACA, right? If the judiciary like strikes this thing down, like will he go far enough to make a pathway to citizenship for others, or is he just going to let it die? We'll see, right?
Well, with DACA, it was an executive order, right? And with those are always flimsy. What we really need is immigration reform. So, these are the kind of situations that you have when you don't have, either the political will, or the guts, the courage to put forward immigration reform. Difference that's, not happening or hasn't happened. The last time we had, immigration reform was during a Republican. So it seems like only Republicans could do this for themselves. And right now, the Republican Party is, that would be not even a consideration in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. So it really has to happen from the Democrats. But Democrats, of course, don't have the 60 votes in order to do this. They could do it through reconciliation. But you got people like Joe Manchin and others that are not as equal, also trying to pass anything like that. They've also talked about adding this to another bill, like type of rider bill, the status to include it to the infrastructure bill and other things. Again, like it would just really be portrayed and seen as like a partisan thing and would be attacked the way Obamacare got attacked. Yeah, it got passed and it's great, but also if you don't get the buy-in from some more of people in Congress, it's a problem. And and remember, like when Marco Rubio was part of that Gang of Eight or whatever, and there was like a real effort to figure out, because at that time the Republicans were like, we need to make inroads with Latinos and immigrants. That's what we need in order. And then Trump came along, and then all that went out the door. So the conversation is really toxic. When a lot of nationalists, nativists saying, and even just people that have been here, second generation Latinos. There's a lot of folks like, we're full, no more, And meanwhile, the pandemic only exacerbated, problem at the border because people are literally dying. So, it's like, I die here or I die trying to go to a better life. I'll die trying. And that's what people are up against. And so it's really tragic, and I feel really bad for my peoples that are in that process or we're looking to get into that process. So, but I know that folks are going to continue to advocate and fight and do everything that they can in order to protect the DACA documented folks and push further, because they need so much more than DACA. But
indeed,
this was a big blow to them and to the immigrant rights movement.
Yeah, some the ripples of having Trump as president, right? That judge was probably appointed by him. He made so many appointments, right? So. Yep. Some of the lingering effects. Right?
Yes, that we will be. The Trumpism is a lingering infestation, I tell you. Bunch of rats everywhere. Okay, speaking of rats.
Oh yeah.
Hey!
There we go. Segways. Woo! Woo! Yeah. Smooth. With
the segues today. And so this is a story that's been covered by everybody, but first, of course, my Orange Juice blog, and now we got Voice of OC and OC Register, but Anaheim Councilman's vulgar text messages trigger calls for investigation. So this is, from the Voice of OC that they spoke about it, and they're saying that set of leaked vulgar text messages by Anaheim City Councilman Jordan Brandman disparaging an ex-rival council member Denise Barnes has led to an apology by the Democratic official, and now a push for city investigation by a council colleague. So this article talks about how apparently Jordan Brandman went on a leave to get unspecified help and was pushed by the mayor apparently to do this, and nobody knew about it apparently. But so. And it goes on to say that there has been a recall effort, although it convolutes it too, but we'll talk about that with our guests, around the reasons for the recall effort. But the recall petition will need at least 5,323 signatures from Brandman's District 2, 20% of its registered voters, according to recall election guidelines from the registrar. So his behavior has Barnes and Moreno in public and in interviews describing him as unstable. But Brandman says that he's received help since, and responding to Jose Moreno's push for a human resources probe, added he has nothing to hide. So, he said some really troubling words, and I can't repeat them because they are inappropriate. And we cuss here, but this is really out of control.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking
misogynistic, violent, horrific. Yeah. It got a lot of beeping.
Yeah, the language is. I don't know. I wouldn't. If I was thinking, what would I say if I was really mad at someone? I'm like, I don't think I would go there.
Yeah. So, and Mike Lister, city spokesman person, was asked about the situation, and he said that they had looked into it, which was past tense. So, but he said, as a personnel matter, we are limited in what we can say out of consideration for all involved. But we are aware of the matter and have looked into it.
You're not using Mike Lister's voice.
Yeah. Well, with that, I will bring on to the show today's guest. We have Fred Sigala Jr. Fred has been a resident of Anaheim for District 2 for 6 years, Orange County for 12. He's been a psychiatric nurse for 20 years and has lived a life of service to his family, his patients, and now his community. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Fred.
Thanks for having me. I can sit here and listen to the news stories all day. You guys are so entertaining with that.
Thanks.
Okay, because I got a few more. So
I'd love to chime in more next time, too.
No.
For sure.
We'll get your takes.
We'll shoot the shit right now. So.
Nice.
Oh, and our other guest here, third time on the show.
Third time.
Yeah, third time's a charm. He is.
Not to mention my song for your second 200th show.
That's right. Yeah, he gave us a shout out on our 200th. He was there. So Vern Nelson, greatest pianist, composer in Orange County, an official troubadour of both Anaheim and Huntington Beaches, the two ends of the Santa Ana Aquifer. He performs regularly both solo and with his savage jazz quintet, the Vern Nelson Problem. And you are the editor,
I guess
funder at the Orange Juice blog, orangejuiceblog.com.
The owner, me and Greg Diamond are the editors, and we do most of the writing, but we have other writers.
Got it. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Vern.
Yeah.
Fred.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's get to it. So we're looking at your sheet that says, why recall Jordan Brandman? And it lists a variety of different issues. I want to definitely go through them all. I know we've talked about it before. A big one was the Los Angeles Angels, which are in Anaheim. They just dropped Anaheim at some point, and now we have a Los Angeles team in Orange County.
There's already a team in Los Angeles.
And it's beyond frustrating, me having grown up in Anaheim.
It's really frustrating. What
are the issues with that particular?
Well, since you mentioned the Los Angeles thing, it's led to a lot of awkwardness when they're showing an Angels game nationally. There's times that nothing's happening on the field, and they'll show like the skyline of Los Angeles because this is the Los Angeles team. One time, a Kansas City mayor wanted to make a playful bet with the mayor of Los Angeles over the Angels game, and he had to call the L.A. mayor had to call Tom Tate and apologize. He goes, "Well, I wish they wouldn't call themselves the Los Angeles Angels. They're not." But
beyond the name, like this was a big situation, a boondoggle, a corporate giveaway, some would call it.
Yeah, and Jordan's been neck deep in it since 2013 at least. Yeah. I don't know why. It's very mysterious, but there's corruption going on. Back in 2013, if you remember, Jordan and his cronies on the council, Lucille Kring, Gail Eastman, and Chris Murray, they were hell-bent to rent the Angel Stadium. It's not so much the stadium, but it's the property all around it, which is very, very valuable. Yeah. It's worth as much as $1 billion. Yeah. To Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, for $1 a year for 66 years. Nobody could figure out why, but they were acting under orders from the chamber.
I can afford that.
Yeah.
I need a parking lot.
Some lobbyists. He was allowed to develop it however he wanted. The only person fighting against that was Tom Tate, and Jordan Brandman took it on himself to be like the anti-Tate. He called a special meeting early in the morning on a Monday, hoping that nobody would go, to take away Mayor Tate's agendizing possibilities, capabilities, so that he wouldn't be able to speak out against it. And somehow Tate still, just as one vote out of 5, just speaking in public, he defeated the whole thing. And we thought we laughed about it now and then for a few years. We thought, those guys, what a bunch of losers. But then right at the end of Tate's tenure, when Mayor Sadu was running against Ashley Aiken, Harry Sadu was running against Ashley Aiken to be mayor. Artie Moreno was just biding his time. A month before the election, the Angels suddenly said, "Oh, we're leaving Anaheim." They opted out of their lease, and people who didn't know any better panicked. They go, "Oh, we're going to lose the Angels." Within an hour, Harry Sadu was out there saying, "I'm the only candidate who knows how to keep the Angels." And so he won. He beat Ashley by 400 votes. It's thanks to Artie Moreno that we have Mayor Sadu.
Interesting tactics all around with the scheduling of things during the holidays. Even for the deal, they rammed it through during the holidays, behind closed doors. It's a very, at best, questionable. At worst, it's straight up robbery.
It was appraised. That property was appraised at least $500 million, and they got it down to $150 million, which we haven't seen a cent of it yet. Even though we're in debt for practically $1 billion since COVID, we could sure use that $150 million.
And that was the second appraisal, right? The 500, because there were two appraisals. One of them got swept under the rug. They never released it. That first appraisal was almost $1 billion. The public never got to see it. And then they had their own. I'm not sure who they got the second time around, but it must have been someone who was biased in some way, because it was such a difference. That's one of the things I'm going to speak about tomorrow at the meeting. The difference between the value between the two appraisals suspicious, and the fact that the highest value has been hidden from the public. The appraisal with the highest value, and they're using the lower one. I don't know. I just think there needs to be a way for them to find a way to do a real appraisal with an independent appraiser who's not. We can confirm he's not biased in any way, because it's really suspicious.
Yeah, you would think a city would want to make the most of their public land and say this is worth more. It's worth. Yeah.
So this deal is being attacked in several ways. The People's Homeless Task Force, which I'm part of, is pursuing a Brown Act lawsuit against it because so much of it was done in secret. The state is against it for some complicated reason that I can't really grasp about, because part of it is affordable housing. It wasn't done in the right way, and we're going to end up with practically $100 million in fines if we go through it the way it is, which means we'll only be making $50 million. Right. And surprisingly, Councilman Avelino Valencia, who I generally don't trust, I haven't seen a reason to trust yet because of his backers, and that campaigning, he never wouldn't give any of his positions. So I wrote a notorious song about him.
Notorious.
But it's supposedly racist.
He
did say he surprised us last Tuesday by calling for a more discussion on it. So that's going to be happening, which brings the Angel Stadium into the public consciousness again, which has been helping us get signatures for Jordan, because Jordan is totally neck deep in this thing.
Yeah, but let me ask you, because people, when they hear, in Anaheim, they hear that the Los Angeles Angels don't have Anaheim in their name. Maybe people that don't follow baseball are unaware, but once you break down like how that costs, the city of Anaheim, because
$10 million a year,
because you don't have the publicity of the name Anaheim attached to them that puts it in there, but people were when they were aware of it were generally against it, but still they voted for folks that or even Jordan Brandman, whom they perhaps should have known better than, because what a lot the other things that it mentions here in your sheet is that that basically he's been hooking up the Disneyland and the tourism industry with all sorts of subsidies, and including this new Visit Anaheim, right? That they got $6.5 million of federal COVID money.
Wasn't he a lobbyist between his tenures?
Yeah, he lost to Jose Moreno in 2016 after his first term. And he barely lost by 70-something votes.
Right.
So he was in limbo for 2 years there. Well, he decided to carpetbag over to another district, and I think he worked as a lobbyist during that time. He's got some kind of job right now because he shows up late to every meeting and says, "Sorry, I had a work deadline." And then he leaves early, and And throughout the meeting, he walks on and off more than anybody put together.
Yeah, he's a jittery fellow.
Yeah.
They must have some really good food or something back there because they keep a few of them I've noticed keep getting up and going back there. And
Yeah.
I think Dr. Moreno called them out last time. Something about hors d'oeuvres or something going on. Snacks.
Yeah?
Snacking, munching
Yeah.
down.
It's like, yeah, you got ants in your pants. Take a
You got-
seat,
Well,
man.
that was the meeting when Jordan was on something that kept him calm. He
Dun, dun,
sat there the
dun.
whole time.
Well, he seemed a lot calmer than the time.
But I'm talking.
Allegedly.
I'm talking about like every other meeting. Every other meeting, he's like hardly there. He doesn't
Yeah.
pay attention. I could go on, but you've got a structure you're going with.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. So I'll just go through it, and we can kind of talk about whatever. So you say here as a loyal part of Mayor Sidhu's majority. Whoa, I can't hear. He has always sided with deep-pocketed out-of-town developers over Anaheim's neighborhoods and small businesses. Refused since 2019 to protect senior mobile homeowners. We talked about that before because one of his contributors is John Saunders.
John Saunders.
He tried to bring 8 more cannabis dispensaries into West Anaheim, but was outvoted. And does regardless of whether you
bad.
agree with it or not, he was doing the work of campaign contributors in that industry. So again, special interests in the pockets of.
And I don't have a strong opinion on that, but he claimed that all his voters wanted that, and it doesn't seem to be the case.
He could care less about his voters' want. Otherwise, he wouldn't vote for this horrible Angels deal, right?
Exactly.
He was supposedly supporting Little Arabia, and then turned their back on those folks.
3 of our councilmen did that. They promised they would support designating Little Arabia, and then I guess they got orders not to once they got on council.
Yeah.
They're all liars. There's at least 5 or 6 councilmen, including the mayor, who deserve to be recalled. I wish I could recall them all.
Recall them
but-
all. That's
So why not?
Sounds like a song.
We were working hard last
Recall
year to
them
recall
all.
Harry Sidhu. We had everything ready to go, but then a little thing called COVID happened. We couldn't knock on
Don't you
people's
know.
doors. We couldn't get 17,000 signatures. And then somewhere in the middle of all that, around September, someone I won't mention told me, "Hey, Vern, you're already recalling Mayor Sidhu. Why don't you threaten, an Angels vote was coming up. Why don't you threaten Jordan that if he votes yes on this, you'll recall him too?" I said, "Okay." I thought this man would help me. But we had to let the Sidhu recall go, but it seemed like the Jordan one was more possible. Plus, he makes me extra mad because he's a Democrat, and I'm a Democrat.
Yes.
And I want Democrats to do better. I want them to be honest. I want them to work for the people. That's what we're supposed to be about.
He doesn't act like a Democrat. He just seems
I
to
don't
have
know
the
what
D
a
by his
Democrat's
name.
supposed to act like anymore.
I mean, you would think he'd
TBH.
act one way, but
like
then
us for.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, I had a question because I'm more of an outsider to this stuff. But do they try to justify these deals with, say, like the tourism industry or the stadium deal? Do they justify it as like trickle-down economics?
They don't
or-
use that word, but it is trickle-down economics. They say it'll be more jobs and more tax receipts, even though they give away half of the taxes they expect. It's trickle-down economics.
big social media push. The deal for the city is what they called it.
The
they just
deal.
say- they talk about everything the community is going to get, all these millions of dollars. They try to make it sound like a huge amount that's really worth it in the long run. They're going to get a park, a legacy park. They're going to get they talk about housing and whatnot also.
And they give the building trades and the Teamsters what they want, which keeps half the Democratic Party on their side too.
A lot of fluff,
But yeah, like fluff, like their relationship with Disneyland has been going on for a long time. So is there evidence to back, like, this isn't a new policy trying to like give cozy deals to tourism companies, right? So I just wondered, do they have evidence, right? Because we've been trying the experiment, right?
well, the issue is transparency, right? We can't get the evidence because they won't let you see anything. So
Well,
they
the
do everything.
Big thing 5, 6, 7 years ago was 4-star, 5-star hotels trying to get huge subsidies, $200, $500 million subsidies. We won't be able to build it if we don't get this subsidy, meaning that once they're built, they don't have to pay so much TOT tax. Actually, they pay their tax, and we send them a check every month, which is really painful. Yeah, most of it, and they agreed to that like a lot of time, and Jordan was part of that, and that's based on threats that are not credible. They're saying we won't be able to build this if we don't get the subsidy, but
Lies.
Either they probably could, and if they can't, then that means there's not a market for a 4-star hotel or a 5-star hotel, and we don't really need one. We're okay with 3-star ones.
Yeah. I mean, so you know, makes it more egregious in your view because it's a Democrat, right? So it's like you're a Democrat, you're recalling a Democrat. You're some would say you're doing the Republicans' job by you know, helping the Republicans.
I feel like I'm making the Democratic Party better, and
Okay.
I'm making Anaheim better. I like to think of this as a positive thing. We're trying to make Anaheim better.
Right. No, yeah, you know, I'm not debating that. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's taking like the Democratic Party of Orange County has endorsed him right, even while having known that he advocated against district elections and really was part of like what blocked district elections from happening much earlier. And then even while the you know, the Democratic Party locally was in favor of district elections.
His record on district elections is somewhat ambiguous, and it leads to a song that we have prepared.
Oh, that's delightful.
He kind of
Are you gonna?
yeah, I've written a lot about his record on district elections. Loretta Sanchez pretty much forced him to say he would favor district elections, and his name did go on with the on the ballot argument for district elections, along with Tom Tate, for what that's worth. But he always did little things to sabotage it here and there.
So he's being protected, obviously, in some way. Like you said, the Democratic Party of Orange County is, for some reason, they endorsed him, even though he's gone against some of the things that would tend to be considered part of.
Yeah, he was
Democrats
censored.
would do. Right.
The first that leads
Because
to
of
this.
that.
That leads to the song too. He was censored because of what he did in late 2015 and 2016 to sabotage district elections and almost put them off for another 2 years. In the kleptocrats on the council. That's the word we use because you can't, Republican and Democrat doesn't mean anything in Anaheim. There's kleptocrats that follow the lead of Disney and the Chamber mostly, and he's generally one of them. But the kleptocrats, Chris Murray, Gail Eastman, Lucille Kring, spent $3 million of our taxpayer dollars fighting against district elections, even though when we finally got to vote on it in late 2014, 70% of Anaheim residents wanted it. Voters wanted it. Republican and Democrat, we all wanted district elections. So smart people spent all of 2014 coming up with various maps, and there was one map that everyone agreed on. It was called the People's Map. It just looked really fair, and it took into account communities of interest. District 3 in the middle was the Latino majority district. District 4 and 5 were Latino plurality. Because one of the main arguments of the lawsuit for districts was that Latinos were not getting enough representation. So the last two meetings of 2015, the first one we were going to agree to we were going to decide which districts were going to get to vote. Everybody assumed District 3, the Latino majority one, would be one of the ones that got to go first. But we also knew that the election of 2016 was going to be a showdown between Dr. Jose Moreno, who was the driving force behind district elections, and Jordan Brandman, who lived in the same district, the Colony, and that Jordan really didn't want to have to run against Jose Moreno. So he came out and surprised everybody at that meeting, saying that, well, District 3 doesn't need to go first. Let's go with the other districts voting first. And everybody got furious, and he wouldn't. And they had all kinds of silly reasons why District 3 shouldn't go first, and so that's what he was doing in that meeting, and then the next meeting, the last meeting of 2015, was packed. All the union people that support the good union people, Unite Here and Accord, and progressives and honest conservatives were in there saying no, let District 3 go first. And then he decided, you ever watched House of Cards with Kevin Spacey? You know how he used to say, if you don't like how the game is set up, turn the table over. That's what Jordan did that day. He goes, I decided that what we need is a new map instead, because this map's not any good. And
Time to stall.
Yeah. I should mention that the two allies he had at that time were people that were always against districts, Chris Murray and Lucille Kring. And it was really painful to listen to them explain to us what districts were supposed to be about and how none of us understood. So that particular meeting almost turned into a riot. Tom Tate gavelled it out early, and you see that famous picture of Jordan sitting on the dais all by himself, looking all uncomfortable.
Is
It's on the
that
shirt.
the one on the shirt?
The one on the shirt.
Oh, okay.
So I know
Yeah.
this is a long story, but it leads to a pretty good song.
If "Wanna Get Away"
yeah.
was a shirt.
Everybody
Exactly.
during this time, people were deciding what to do, and there was a rumor going around that that there would be a march on NAM because it was NAM time. There would be a march on NAM, protesting in favor of the People's Map and District 3 getting to go first. And it was supposed to be led by my wife, although no one got around to asking her if she wanted to do it, but she probably would have. So there was that rumor going around. And so the first meeting of 2016, that was January 12th, like 100, 200 people talked in favor of the People's Map and District 3 going first. And Lucille Kring, as the song says, Lucille was the first to drop. She goes, "Okay, let's just go back to how it was before." And you can see on the film Jordan throwing his arms up in the air like, "What are you doing, Lucille?" and then Chris Murray came next, and she called up Dr. Moreno and asked him a bunch of stupid questions, like really repetitious, like a whole bunch of questions over and over, with things that he had already explained, but he explained them patiently again to her. She was obviously just trying to make it look like she wasn't an easy pushover. And then Jordan, who we noticed later that they all got texts telling them to do this. Suddenly Jordan was all happy. "Oh, I'm glad we all agree on this. Let's do it." Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was when the kleptos caved. So I had to write a song about that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna get to that song. So, yeah, you have a very good memory of all these different things and all these different
Dates and
people that were involved in this stuff, and because it was a whole journey, and so that was a journey, and then and we got we thought we're like, oh, Dr. Moreno won, like we're rid ourselves of Jordan, and somehow he. Somehow, no, we know. Like in the middle of the night, like
In
a
the
thief.
middle of the night,
yeah,
yeah.
he moved, and then, which was
Our friend Wes Jones called us. He said, "Vern, Donna, you got to get down here. Jordan's moving." It was like 11 p.m. The last day of February, the last day that he possibly could. So we took pictures. He even talked to us. He goes, "You have to support me now because of Trump. Democrats all have to support each other because Trump."
Oh no!
So what does this have to do with Trump?
So is Jordan like the local example of why we say any blue won't do? Because the Democrats, here's the thing, right? So you've laid it out clearly that in Anaheim, it's not about whether you're Democrat or Republican. It's about whether or not you're in the interest of Disneyland and the tourism industry, and the different special interests that are in place. The developers
thinks in terms of the Democrat versus Republican nowadays, but you're right.
Tom Tate told me that when I first Democrat, Republican don't mean anything here. It's people that are in it for themselves, people that are in it for the people.
It's residents versus corporate interests. That's what seems to be happening locally. Definitely.
Yeah. So Fred, how did we've known Fred. Vern and his antics for a while, but how did you get involved in this?
I'm a resident of District 2, so I was firsthand witnessing the neglect that was happening in Little Arabia, and it bothered me. They kept touting all these accomplishments, especially Jordan saying, "Oh, I made these I helped the shelters come up in Anaheim," and he kept taking all this credit. Meanwhile, I'm looking around, and so many people still in need of services, living at bus stops, on the sidewalk, behind shopping centers. Well, I started asking that's when I started to question. If there's 3 brand new shiny shelters in town, why are all these people still sleeping out here? So I started asking questions. I started to meet people. That's when I met Janine Robbins. That's when I met Rebecca Kovacs. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to them. She's a wonderful homeless advocate. Explained to me the situation, and I started to learn a little bit about the politics behind it. It's the shelters. I learned a little more like a revolving door for many people because the root causes of the homelessness weren't being addressed. So that's when I took an interest in seeing them get the services they needed, advocating for better services, broader services. As you mentioned earlier, I'm a psychiatric nurse, so to me that's very important. I recognize the issue of mental illness in our society and how little attention that really gets. A lot of it comes down to, in my opinion, the insurance companies just don't recognize it as much as it needs to be recognized. You know, the need for those types of services, the need for those types of care coverage is woefully inadequate. I just want to see people get help. People who need help get help. So that's where it started for me, and also the Angel Stadium scenario started to play out at the same time. So that's when I took more of an interest on the political side as well, and I started writing, making posts and whatnot, making comments. I commented on Mr. Brandman's campaign when he was running about the issues. Didn't get any responses. I think he might have blocked me, actually.
Hey, he's not allowed to. You should like threaten to sue him, because you can't. Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, but I believe he did. And so then I met Vern, and Vern is the one who said, "Hey, have you thought about coming to the council meeting and speaking there?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that's the next logical step. I might as well start, putting myself out, trying to call attention to the issues happening in my neighborhood. Feel kind of helpless when it comes to national, other than my vote, but I felt that like on a city level, I could make more of an impact if I came out of my shell a little bit. And it just seemed like an opportunity for me to be of service in a different way. I've been of service on a patient level for many years, and now it felt really compelling to be of service on a community level. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
That's awesome. And it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It all ties together, because it sounds like you got in on one thing and you realize it's this hurricane.
I started meeting so many amazing people. Like I knew I did the right thing immediately, because I started to meet the coolest people. Vern, look at the way he writes music. Yeah. He writes songs. He writes songs in a way that makes people who aren't normally interested in something that would seem mundane or boring in a way, but at the same time it's a horrible scandal where people are trying to take advantage of the community, and he brings attention to it, and in a way that's so entertaining that makes you start remembering names and dates and things that happen and who did what and who caved first.
What you're describing with him is something I really like about my wife. Even before I met her, she was just a regular person until her son got killed by the police, and then she started coming to meetings, and then she started noticing all the corruption and started tying it all together. I go, oh, that's cool that she tied it all together. Now we're married.
Yeah,
that's right. Nice.
Were you surprised at the level of corruption or the lack of transparency?
Shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked. I always had that naive attitude of like, well, at least the city. It's on a smaller scale. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody must know what's going on. If somebody doesn't cross a T or dot an I, someone's gonna, hey, so and so is not doing what they're supposed to. No, I didn't realize. But Anaheim it's a different beast in a way. It's like such a massive city, one of the wealthiest cities, one of the most wonderfully diverse and there's a lot of wonderful things about Anaheim. I love it. I love it here. I love living in Anaheim. But yeah, it's surprising, shocking in a way to learn that the corruption just runs so deep, and it's just so, and like you were mentioning earlier, it's like this pattern of repetition of like, this is the way they've done it for so many years. This is the way they take advantage. This is the way they steal. This is the way they plan it. This is the way they execute. And no one seems to be able to like stop it. And I think the reason is transparency, lack of transparency. They found a way to keep it from getting out enough to where enough people become like us, concerned, and then start to meet like-minded people, because there are a lot of like-minded people.
That's why I appreciate what Abelino did Tuesday. No matter how it turns out or how he votes, he's bringing the Angels deal back out to the public.
I do appreciate what he did. I'm not sure what his motivations were yet. I want to believe, take him at his word, that his motivation is I ran on a campaign of fiscal conservatism, and this is why I'm calling this out, because I want to make sure it's in the best interest of Anaheim and the residents. That's what he said. So I want to take him at his word, and until I see behavior that shows me otherwise, I'm going to take him at his word, and I'm going to thank him for tomorrow. I'm going to thank him for what he did.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah,
where credit's due.
Yeah.
Give credit where credit's due. But I share the hesitancy. So let's get into what a lot of people are framing the conversation, or at least the recall effort is. This is a response to these texts that were sent. But so you through the Orange Juice blog, you broke this story, correct?
Yeah.
As far as you got access to these texts by this former friend of
Yeah.
Mr. Brandman that then got mad at him and then revealed all these things. And, you know, and going back to the complicated nature of the Anaheim City Council, Denise Barnes at the time was a Republican or right-leaning, conservative, whatnot.
She was a moderate, real humane.
But more importantly, she was, like you said, a community member that cared about the issues. And
she had become a Democrat already, and the Democrats were not real into supporting her because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to mention is like to me the text showed like the toxic culture that she was surrounded by at City
It's
Hall.
still there, the misogyny.
Yeah. Right. And based on some of the articles that it seems like it's the issues with him go beyond these texts, and there is like he's an abrasive person with staff. Like
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. In canvassing, I've met just the other day. I met some people who worked for the school district, and they said they knew Jordan before he became a councilman because he was a school board member. Right. They said he was just like the same way back then. He would create hostile work environment. He was abrasive. He was rude. He was just a mean person. They didn't like working with him. And now that he's a councilman, they're not at all surprised that this came out and that he's doing
heard
something.
that from him on the water board too.
But he took off one meeting in December, so now he's all better.
Right. Coincidentally, I already took that time off.
Secretly.
Dude, that's what like he took that celebrity route. It's like, I'm going into rehab.
The celebrity
Base.
rehab.
That's what Dave
Took
Chappelle
the
said.
psychic celebrity
Yeah,
route.
it's like,
Oh,
I'm safe.
I knew you were going to tell me to go to rehab, but haha, I already went to
You
rehab
did
before you
it.
told me.
I was responsible.
You
Two
bl-
steps ahead of you there, buddy.
Yeah, you blinked.
Yeah. So it's the recall is not happening because of these texts. These things.
No, it was already
after the
ready
Angels
to
deal.
go. I'd started in February. I had a long list, and they let you write 200 words. We didn't know about the text until I heard rumors about them in May, and I kept trying to get them from Jose. I knew he had them, but he gave them to Denise. He said, it's up to Denise. If Denise lets you have them. And Denise had them for 2 weeks, and finally she gave them to me, and I made the best out of them.
And you mentioned it came as a result of someone who knew Jordan seeing the hypocrisy in his actions towards Mr. Larson. Mr. Larson was on the commission for Sister Cities, and he had an issue. He took issue with having a sister city in China, and he said the word, he said that.
mentioned
He's an
China
old
virus,
conservative. He said China virus. Which I don't know. It's in the middle. I disagree with him saying he shouldn't have said that because it was in the middle of lots of Asian people getting beat up and stuff. And so it's politically incorrect, and he probably shouldn't be on the Sister Cities Commission. I really like Larry a lot, but he's kind of old school, and it doesn't seem a good fit for Sister Cities if he wants to take it out on a country.
So Jordan spearheaded that. Right?
Yeah. But it's the way that Jordan acted about it. Like he went into fainting spells about this offensive language. And I can't even say the man's name.
Right.
He wouldn't say the name Larry Larson. Like
It was Voldemort all of a sudden. Yeah.
I am appalled.
Yes.
And around the same time, we got some goofy homeless commenters that are usually drunk. One of them's Jewish, and he makes jokes about Jewish lawyers, dirty Jewish lawyers. So Jordan will come up and say, "Oh, this horrible anti-Semitic speech. I'm so in pain to hear it." It's just,
Right. It's just a victim, victim mentality thing.
And then we
going
find
on.
out he writes about
Right.
this about women.
Right. So the hypocrisy was noticed by the lady who released the text messages, who said, no, I'm not going to let this stand. I mean, people need to see how he really is when the camera's off and whatnot. So she released the text messages, and like Vern was saying, that was kind of how they traveled, and then finally were released. But this was already the recall was before that, and proof of that is actually that the original version of these flyers, they don't include the text messages, anything about them, so they weren't even out yet.
Text messages are a cherry on top.
Yeah, it's
Or they're a gift from God who says, use it wisely.
So I mean, to me, it's troubling that this woman was fine with it until she was,
It's
fell out
interesting
with
you
him.
say that, because there is something in the text messages that was kind of blurred out. So then Jordan said, "Oh, it was taken out of or you haven't seen the full context of the conversation." I think maybe he was implying that there was some kind of a back and forth conversation. But then who's to say it wasn't someone feeling uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that they couldn't oppose what he was saying at the moment? maybe she felt, like she was uncomfortable to.
I couldn't picture a context that would justify that unless she broke into his house and killed his dog, which she didn't do.
Yeah, it was a lot of vitriol towards Denise Barnes, whom is she's a good woman. She cares about her community deeply, but she was not going to play ball with the council majority. And because of that, I guess he was frustrated, and so was Harry. And Harry treated her horribly on the council too. I mean, they really did everything they could to make her feel bad, especially when I believe her father died during the time, and they were less than sympathetic towards her. It was just really nasty.
Well, let's just say she wasn't a wonderful woman, which she is. But let's just for a second
wonder,
how horrible does a woman have to be to deserve to be spoken about like that? Like, it doesn't matter the kind of person she was. No woman should ever be spoken to about like that. I mean, that's kind of, the point that I try to drive home, because, I mean, everyone who asks for context, for me, that's kind of just like a red flag. That's like, well, what, in your opinion, would be so horrible that a woman would deserve to be spoken about in that way? And the answer is nothing. I mean, no one should ever.
So he apologized, right? Just to to put it back in there. So
2 days after I published it, he apologized on a liberal OC, and it was not his writing. It was probably Melahat's writing, because he doesn't know long words. He apologized. And there were so many things wrong with that apology for such a short apology. He apologized to everyone who respects me and was impacted, which is nobody. Not to Denise, and not to the women he talked to.
Yeah. Only if you love me and respect me.
He said it needed more context. Yeah. He said it. He said it was in the heat of the moment, which actually was 6:30 in the morning. He was texting with a female
Now that
friend.
song is stuck in my head again.
He said
6:30 in the moment.
Oh, what else? He said it was a long time ago, and he said that it was released as a result of his vote on a housing project, which I think he meant the Sunkist thing that I was part of. He thinks I let it out because he did a bad vote on the Sunkist, and that was not a housing project. It just shows he didn't pay attention to the whole Sunkist project that I had a 2-hour appeal on.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice in his apology is that didn't he say no one should say these words? I'm appalled at anyone. But didn't he also say in the text, as my mother's favorite phrase?
They were her favorite words.
He's inadvertently condemning his own mother.
Yeah, on KFI this morning, I forget the names of the hosts, but they were really tripping out about it. And they looked up Mara Brandman. They go, "That lady talk like that?"
He threw his mom under the bus there. He threw her really bad.
Yeah, he invokes her to say things that he wants to say, but for some reason he didn't hold back enough. I mean, he still said some horrible stuff. That's
my issue was that he didn't. He said, "I apologize to the people that respect me." Yeah. I'm like, who
so no one
respects.
So no one.
Yeah. They have to work with the guy. I hardly think they respect him. Even the ones that support him.
We've gone in at council meetings ever since then, to 2 council meetings, and he's apologized a couple more times. Now he's apologized to Denise, but it's like it had to be dragged out of him.
Right. Everything's been pulled, and I think he's revised his apology 3 times now. And he still hasn't included breast cancer survivors, which is my wife's a breast cancer survivor, and we're his constituents. And his words, I mean, they're really offensive, And my wife had a double mastectomy. I went to the council meeting and I spoke about it, and I think he owes breast cancer sufferers and survivors an apology too. He hasn't said anything about that. But,
Cynthia Ward, who spoke, also had double mastectomy, and she didn't mention it in her speech, right? She left that out, but she did.
So what has the local elected or the local party said about his words and actions?
Well, the Anaheim Democrats Club wrote a resolution, definitely denouncing it and calling for him to take a leave and make right. And if not, then there's political consequences for that. But unfortunately, I'm not sure what's going on with the county party yet.
Yeah, with the DPOC, he still has so many fans there that just like his votes. They like his kind of politics, and they'll excuse anything he does. They try to find little equivalences. Everybody's finding equivalences. Trevor O'Neill, who hates Jose Moreno, Trevor's another councilman. He goes, well, since we're talking about this, let's talk about what Jose did 3 years ago on the corner of Catella and Harbor when he sat in the middle of the street and cost us $40,000 in police overtime.
Wow.
City attorney, has that
What
been
an
taken care of yet?
So that's as bad as attacking a woman and talking about mutilating her body parts. He's equating those two things.
Wasn't he
The other
protesting
equivalence
for
they try to
labor
make
rights?
is that I wrote a piece. I was really pissed off that so many people who should know better are supporting Poseidon because they're benefiting from it somehow. So I wrote a piece called The Poseidon Whores. And that included, like, mostly men, but there were 3 women included. And one of them, I won't mention her name because she doesn't mention my name, felt really offended that she said, Vern Nelson called me a whore. That's the same thing. And I made it clear in my piece that this is political. This is a political thing. It's, if you're doing something you know is wrong for money. So I'm calling all these people whores. But I guess that's supposed to somehow be equivalent to what Brandman wrote.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, it feels like there's some dragging of feet.
Yeah.
and a lack of... At times, when people that perhaps the Democratic Party or the establishment doesn't like, they're like, boom, like, quick to hold press conferences and, and make statements and stuff. But in this case, then, that wasn't the case. I mean, when, Victor said F the party, like, they went hard on him.
When Jeff
hard.
Letourneau said that, I posted somebody else's post about how Ho Chi Minh had done some good things.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, they got rid of him right away.
Did those things get more publicity than what the text thing is getting so far? Is it possibly due to maybe the awareness level?
Ours is catching up.
Because maybe they're good, like you said, they're good at doing damage control, but they just don't see enough damage yet to need to come out and do the control.
I think it's just the politicization of issues, and so then it makes me cynical to feel like you don't really care about the issues. You care about looking right or capture, making sure that voters don't flee.
That's exactly what it sounded like. Yeah.
So then it just feels disingenuous to me.
That just makes me want to get the word out more to more outlets. The OC Register's already picked up the story. The Voice of OC.
So for a while,
KFI.
KFI. So the ball is rolling. The word is out there, and the question is, will 5,000 plus be willing to sign the signature? What do what do it feel like?
Since these stories came out, I'm getting a lot more yeses.
Okay.
It was 50-50. Now it's doing better. More people are seeing this, and what we need is more volunteers.
So much of the district
you don't need to
is
live
still
in
untouched.
You don't need to live in District 2. We need people that'll come. I'll print out all the addresses of the voters and everything for you.
We have lots of copies for you to hand out.
We've got about almost maybe 10 volunteers by now. We need more. And so
Definitely.
please contact me or Fred.
The 5,300 number, we're shooting for 6,000. So
yeah, you need a cushion because some of the signatures are going to be bad.
Okay.
So, margin of
is there a website?
I remember
or Facebook?
you went through a real painful experience trying to get rent control signatures, huh? You were telling me about that.
I mean, I was a part of the Rutana in the beginning, and then I left the job, and I definitely still supported it, but yeah, it fell short by 600 votes. So I can see, that
600 signatures.
Yeah, 600 signatures. Sorry, so it's like really painful to see, like, if you don't get that signature, that all that work, all those thousands and thousands, like don't don't count. So it is a huge endeavor to make, and so yeah, it is
but now
not
Sharon
easy.
Quirk Silva's got it on a state level now, right?
And there was money behind that effort too. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right now it's happening. It's on the floor.
It's
right?
happening.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? In the absence of being able to have states or some other kind of people like step in, the people can take it to do signature gathering drives and whatever it is that they need.
That bill is only for the one senior mobile home park.
Oh.
It's such a narrowly tailored bill, but it's going to be passed. It just needs to be signed by the governor now. So good for Rancho La Paz.
Oh, that's
finally.
crazy.
Yeah. No, and I know, I mean, Rancho La Paz was it part of Sharon Quirk Silva's a district?
Yeah. The whole thing is it's half in Anaheim, half in Fullerton, all in her district.
That's right. So, just that's good news, and that we wouldn't have had in Anaheim because they most of them would have not voted for rent control for mobile homes or any kind of respite. That's a whole other thing. We've talked about it in the past, but
one thing that hasn't been brought up is if we do get the recall on the ballot, there'll be just like with the Gavin recall and the Gray Davis recall, there will be the question, recall him or not, and then the question of who do you want to replace him. And I have a good idea.
Uh-oh. All right.
I'm not thinking that far ahead.
Announcement.
Woo! What's important?
Breaking news.
What's important is we get him recalled because, if I was in some way able to step in and do the work, I can guarantee I would do a better job because he's not doing any job. I actually love our district. I can guarantee I love our district more than he does.
And he's been there a lot longer too.
Yeah, I've been there longer.
Boom.
And
Facts.
for me it would be one of those things where in life you feel like you're pushed in a certain direction, and if a door opens, you're ready to walk right through it without hesitation. Sure. But like I said, I'm just not thinking that far ahead right now. The important thing is gathering these signatures and doing what's right for District 2, because we're really suffering from a lack of representation right now. It's sad in so many ways, and so many people are unaware. And thankfully, now that the story's getting out, it's helping us get the word out more.
So, are you ready to jump in the swamp? That's you. Yeah. Good people don't do well
already
in this realm, man. You seem like a good guy, Fred. So yeah.
That's Fred Sigala Jr.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll
Damn.
jump in there. I'll get my my flippers on. See what happens.
I'll get you. Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Hazmat suit and yeah, man. Okay.
Yeah, pull the plug. See if it drains.
Do you have a song? I hear.
No, you made me forget about it. Yeah, I gave it a long introduction, then I guess it wasn't time yet.
I wasn't sure if we wanted to say it then or now, but I think we're ready now. I think, he was referring to it earlier, but there was a magical song about kleptos.
When the kleptos caved, when Jordan was trying to sabotage district elections, we wanted the people's map, and finally, after a lot of grassroots fights. Fighting, we finally got Lucille Kring to switch, and then Chris Murray, and then Jordan acted like he was happy about it because he got a text or something. But so
I'm so happy right now about this. Yeah,
here's a song about the meeting of January 12th.
I guarantee after you hear it, you'll know all the details of what went down. That's how entertaining it is,
including a lot of people who were there.
Yeah. All right, Edgar, hit it.
Louder. Were you there? Hey, were you? Those two chords are gone.
Technical
some chords fell
sync
out.
issue.
I think.
Here we go. Yeah, there's a little pause.
Okay, go ahead. Were you there when the kleptos caved? Were you there when the kleptos caved? Chichu Mervet and Doug Pettibone were the kleptos caved. Were you there when the kleptos caved? When the people's map rose from the grave? Becerra and Guerra and Marisol were there when the kleptos caved. Lucille was the first to draw up. She said, for God's sake, just make this stop. As she flipped her vote, I heard Jordan squeal, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. Then Chris questioned Dr. Moreno. After that, she couldn't very well say no. As she discoursed on her change of heart, she sounded like Ana Briseño. Were you there when the kleptos caved? Were you there when the kleptos caved? Both Victorias and both Donaldsons were there when the kleptos caved. Were you there when the kleptos caved? When democracy got saved? DeMarc Daniels, Cynthia and Ben Gaucher were there when the kleptos caved. Then Jordan was the last to crack, seeing no one else had his back. As his house of cards came tumbling down, he behaved like a Democrat. Were you there when the kleptos caved. When the people's map arose from the grave. You seen your eternal great diamond and too many more to mention were there when the kleptos caved. Were you there when the kleptos caved? When democracy got saved. From the hills to Knott Avenue they clapped and cheered when the people made the kleptos cave. When the people made the kleptos cave. Si se puede Anaheim.
Hey!
You nailed the tempo change too. Awesome.
Wow.
Nice.
Amazing.
I feel like I was there now.
I know it all. Now.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Told you.
Now this is, you've brought your level of, of entertainment and satire and, and into the council meetings.
But nobody takes me seriously.
and I think it takes that, right? As you were mentioning, Fred, like you're able to make things palatable, interesting, funny,
tell the story
and
in an
educate
interesting
people
way.
on the issues, that are happening in Anaheim.
Yeah, things should be fun and colorful. Why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, politics isn't fun for most people. They're just right. I mean, so that's why I'm always happy when I hear stories like yours, Fred, where I think you were serving a certain role in society. Trying to be of service. In your family, your community, and your job. And then you got tapped. Somebody knocked on your door, or somebody
Responded to your post.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You were so overflowed with the world and the politics and all this, and you just take a step away from it and you look around your neighborhood and you realize I can make a difference here now, immediately around me, my neighbors, down the street, all the people who need help. Exactly. Thank you for noticing that.
Absolutely. So is Vern the Morpheus to your Neo?
Precisely. I just don't know. I don't remember the colors of the pills, but he gave me the good one.
What it was. That was a doozy. Yeah.
Morpheus, that's the big version of Lawrence Fishburne. I saw that movie once.
Yeah.
So he's the guy with the trench coat.
Vern was like, I don't think you're ready for what I'm ready to show you. We have
Are you
no
ready
time
to see
Neo.
how far the rabbit hole goes?
Yeah.
I remember that. There was a lot of shooting in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of trench coats, not just one.
I'm more of a V for Vendetta guy.
Yeah, that one's a good one too. That's right. Man, so you when is the last date that you have to collect signatures?
October 5th.
Yes.
Remember the 5th of October. Oh, not quite.
But that doesn't mean we shouldn't get on it now, because who knows? Who knows what can happen. That COVID variant could hit us or something, and then it'll all,
Who knows?
Yeah, he might
gotta
have
get it done now.
He
We
might
need
have the
help.
good luck that Harry Sadu did.
Yeah.
We were at
Look out for
the
him.
COVID has been Sadu's friend in many ways.
we were at the State of the City speech. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Dave Vern? The State of the City speech that Mr. Sidhu did at the Grove.
Oh, I didn't go in there.
We were there outside
You couldn't pay me to listen to a Sadu speech.
with our signs.
You can read it in the Anaheim Pravda. Well, that's what I call the Anaheim blog now. Matt Cunningham's thing. It's like Sadu talks about a new golden age in Anaheim. It's like such propaganda.
I'm assuming there'll be hate articles written about this occurrence, probably.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
you're like
Bring it on.
Bring it on. See
like-
you in the comments.
they got a special section for Vern and
Yeah,
that.
Dave,
Oh, yeah.
I get every day, Don, at around lunchtime, people send in anonymous comments about me. Really gross ones about me or Donna or sometimes other people that are allied with us, and I look at them. We usually laugh, and I put them in the trash folder. But they get printed on the Liberal OC or Matt's blog.
And people are running to make fake accounts to insult you.
Make
you're
up
doing
stories
something right.
about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make up
forward to
stories
that.
or exaggerate true stories.
Yeah. No, I saw that. It gets nasty.
Always trying to make an equivalence with what Jordan did or some other real malefactor did.
Always trying to assassinate people's characters, I notice, but when they start attacking you as an individual, you're hitting them where it hurts, and that's with truth.
Yeah, what did Gandhi say? One of you can probably quote it better. First they
First, they laugh at you. It's something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Then they
Then
persecute
they
you.
attack you.
Yeah.
Ouch! Ouch!
And then you win. I think it ends with
Then you win.
You eventually.
It ends with you winning.
Yes.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I really hope that this campaign ends in you winning, which is getting the recall on
That's
the
the win.
ballot to let the voters, decide.
That's right.
And so that it's going to take, a small army of volunteers, right, that are going to go out
I'll
there.
be
and
happy
do
with
things.
20.
The win, the success here is enabling an informed vote by the voters. This was an uninformed vote. We were tricked into, even though I didn't vote for the man, we were tricked into electing someone who has no business in public service even. But for some reason, he's been convincing a lot of people he belongs there. But,
When we got district elections, the first time we had it, we got in 2016, we got a relatively honest council, a conservative but honest council. Tom Tate, James Vanderbilt, Denise Barnes, and Jose. And that was the only 2 years that the kleptocracy was out of power. So what did they do? They quadrupled their spending. In 2018,
Did they really?
Yeah, 28. We used to think it was ridiculous that they'd spend $200,000 to elect a councilman. Now they spend $1 million each. So
Well, I mean,
I would go. I was trying to get Kenneth Batiste elected in District 5, and every day there'd be like 2 or 3 mailers for Steve Fessel, and the voters would complain to me. They go, "I hate all this trash. I don't want to get any more mailers from this guy," but he still won.
and when it comes time to
Because his
vote,
name-
that's the name they remember because of all the mailers that were.
yeah, I remember like the Jose Diaz people, which obviously they hired some group to phone bank for them. They called him like 3 times or something crazy. By the end, my mom was like, "We're not voting for Jose Diaz. We're voting for Denise Barnes."
backfired.
Wow. Yeah, lose my number, but yeah, they were resilient. Right. So they're like district elections, a good idea. It must be protective, but also you need to have candidates that are willing to step in, but also the people
Residents
power
who are-
movement that are able to like knock on doors and
Gives us a leg up, but
Because-
not quite enough.
Yeah, because now they're just like spending stupid money, which to them is nothing, right? It's a drop in the bucket compared to all the money that they're going to
what they
generate by
get.
getting their development projects, getting these corporate subsidies, and and so perhaps one of the last questions: what do you feel that the Anaheim Council is more corrupt now than ever, or has there been, or is up there like on scale of 0 to 10, how corrupt the majority? The council majority, which I believe
Yeah.
is mostly Republicans and Jordan, right?
Well, Avellino usually votes with the majority too. It's you notice me trying to give him a little bit of praise today, but
Yeah, but
that's just faint praise.
okay.
He's mostly voted
With the
voted
council
lockstep with the
majority.
rest of them.
Yeah.
My answer to that would be, how do you measure corruptness? And in my opinion, it's the amount of money on the line. I don't know of any other time. I mean, I haven't been in Anaheim, too long, but I can wager that there hasn't been a time where more money hasn't been on the line for the residents in the community to lose. With this Angels debacle and the all the giveaways, I think maybe we're at a point right now. It's the most critical, maybe in one of, if not one of, in Anaheim's history. I'd wager,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
of all the money on the line.
And like because of the pandemic and COVID, there was a lot of federal and state COVID money, and I mean, I'm from what I've
That was
gathered
diverted
is
to Disney.
a lot of that was given to.
Advertising.
You don't need to promote Disney.
Everyone knows
Disney
about
promotes
Disney.
itself.
That's the
This
first
was
place
us.
people want to go when they finally get out of their house.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
going to Disneyland.
This was toward the
like-
You don't
beginning.
need
This
to
is toward the
advertise.
beginning of the pandemic, March of 2020. They decided to give $6.5 million to Visit Anaheim to advertise.
It's like a
To advertise
tourism.
Disney and try to book more conventions, but nobody knew when the pandemic was going to end, and we didn't have that kind of money. We were already broke. And that money was going to come out of our reserves. And then a few months later, we got some federal COVID money, and they said, "Oh, okay, well let's use that for Visit Anaheim instead." And I don't know if it's better or worse, but Jose Moreno was the one to say, let's instead give that money to Disney workers who are laid off. And he couldn't get he got a second from Denise Barnes, but he couldn't get a third from Jordan Brandman.
Yeah. So
That's
that,
which is a rule that they don't have anywhere else, that you need to get a third to put something on the agenda. That's a rule that Sadu made up just to keep Moreno from getting anything on the agenda.
And
that's crazy.
you mentioned the back to the Angel Stadium deal real quick. The money with COVID again coming into play. Now the city is having to borrow money because of the financial shortfalls related to COVID, and the interest rate that the city is getting on that borrowed money is higher than the interest rate they promised Artie Moreno's group would have to pay for the stadium land. So it just doesn't make any sense. It's not feasible anymore. It's not in the best interest of the residents. And that's what we need to get out and let them hear. Tomorrow, the council meeting, they're going to be bringing this up, item 20.
And COVID would not have been so devastating to Anaheim if we weren't already like $500 million in debt because of subsidies and
giveaways to the police.
and ridiculous pensions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, they have a strong union. I mean, that's going to happen. They have contracts in place that they had to honor. But at the same time, I mean, there's other services, and that's also where Vern's wife is working with, I believe it was Steve Fessel, on possibly expanding services of the police department to include a broader range of services, which would address some of the mental health concerns in the community for people who maybe are schizophrenic, for example, or have some type of mental illness issue where the police respond, and the last thing someone with a mental health issue like that wants to see is an armed person approaching them.
Yeah. I mean, I hope Fessel is serious about helping with that.
Yeah. People in my line of work used to work for the police departments on psychiatric emergency response teams, and they would approach in plain clothing, and they would do assessments on the spot. Once the police determine it's safe and like the person's not armed, but they have a mental health concern, they're possibly a danger to themselves or others, someone like myself would approach in plain clothing, assess, determine the need for specific services, and all of this, unfortunately, the funding has to come from the same place that like raises come from, things like that. So it makes sense that the union would fight against something like that, or they would say our officers can handle it. They're trained specifically now as psychiatric emergency response people. I get it, but they're also armed. They're still armed, and they're approaching concern.
Yeah, that always has worried me. Like my brother has autism. You know, he's 26 now. He's older, and he has psychotic episodes every so often. And you know, like what would the police know if they didn't know that? And as has been shown many times, it ends badly, including in death. So,
someone like myself who specializes in working with dual diagnosed people who are autistic as well as they have schizophrenia or something that they're, a double issue that they're working on that's compounding, right? Someone who's not specifically trained in those areas wouldn't understand what's happening. The person, but someone like myself, you can recognize it immediately and say, this person is not going to hurt anyone. They're more than likely to hurt themselves than anyone else. So that assessment happens. The services need to be available, but the funding needs to be made available first. So we need to find ways to negotiate that with the understanding. I heard the sheriff or the someone from the police was maybe on board with that idea to some extent.
Oh, the chief of police went after George Floyd, people were talking about defunding the police, and he was talking a good talk about we could part with this much to go to mental health and stuff, and it sounded like he wasn't completely.
But that's the right idea that we want to push. We want to get more of that to the table so that there can be real conversations taking place about diverting funding to broader ranges of services for people, not just militarizing the police.
Right.
You need to move things over to more of a broader range.
If there was time, I could tell you about like 4 or 5 people that ended up getting killed by Anaheim police that should never have happened. That were mental illness cases that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Joey and Genevieve's, and so many.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about mental cases.
Those
were.
Sorry.
Those were young men running from the police and getting. That's a different story.
For sure. Right. So
also shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean, people just dying because in the hands of the police and all sorts of cases. It was a problem in Anaheim, which led to the uprisings 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's beyond my scope of understanding.
Yeah,
when it comes to mental health stuff. Yeah,
I want to get back to the housing as a human right or Orange County, because I believe there's a lawsuit that was filed, a Brown Act violation. Don't believe we talked about it on the show.
Yeah, but that's the People's Homeless Task Force.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, they're kind of the same group, but
Many of the same folks.
But I like that name better because I made it up.
Do you feel hopeful that that's going to be able to, stop the deal or at least bring it to some transparency or scrutiny by the public?
We have our first public hearing on that September 10th, so we'll see.
Okay.
But is there any way to see where it's at in the legal process? I wonder if that's actually getting having a good chance in the court itself.
I think it does. The lawyer we have, Kelly Avilas, has never lost a Brown Act case.
Nice.
That's his specialty.
Well, that's good.
Nice. And this looks pretty open and shut to me.
And can that actually stop decisions from being made, or is it kind of like fines occur after the fact, typically with the Brown Act?
I think they have to start the deal, and what's going to be happening tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow is the thing that Avellino got started, the big public discussion on it, and yeah, all of this should hopefully lead to the deal being redone from ground one and from square one in a more honest way, hopefully.
I'm afraid that the city attorney might prevent them from speaking too much about it. That's my fear tomorrow, because even when he brought it up for discussion, he was saying, we can't talk about specific details. We can bring it up, but who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. It's a big question mark.
Okay.
It's going to be real interesting. I really encourage everyone to come down to City Hall tomorrow, 4:30.
It's going to be interesting as hell.
Yes. Okay. And Vern will be there.
Yeah, Vern, we're going to try to make it fun. I was going to say earlier, if we made government fun, more people might get involved.
Yes, we need more people like
Except
Vern.
nobody don't want-
Except nobody takes me seriously.
Nobody takes me seriously.
There's no mistake that the government's boring on purpose, because it's so much easier to get away.
That's right. I like this stuff, and I'm just like,
You're like, I know what's going on exactly.
And Anaheim, it's funny you say that. It's good you bring that up, because Anaheim is not only happy with it being boring, but also non-accessible to people. They're the only city left in Orange County that doesn't do Zoom for city council meetings.
Oh, wow.
They're still using antiquated mono for their audio.
I guess I gave up on that fight.
Oh my gosh.
yeah. No.
I think there's someone with a reel-to-reel in the back recording the council meeting or something, because it's
nothing like it was the sweetest thing for Harry, because he just could do all his things and not face public scrutiny as much as if they were in person.
Exactly.
Harry flourishes in the darkness.
Yeah, that guy. Not #not my mayor. All right, so we do have to wrap up the show, but let folks know how they can get involved in the Recall Jordan Brandman 2021 efforts.
Well, call me or Fred.
Give us a call. We're on Facebook.
Should I
Recall
say
Jordan
our numbers?
Brandman 2021.
You can call me at 714-235-VERN. That's easy to remember.
Nice.
235-VERN.
I'm at 626-391-6878, or on Facebook, Fred Sigala Jr., YouTube, Fred Sigala Jr. You can reach out to me, any of those places. If we get enough people together who want to sign, we can either get together, we can make a day where we're at the park and people can come by and sign, or if there's more than 3 voters, you're saying, we can come to them.
Yeah, we'll make a trip for 3 voters, and we hope to get PDI soon somehow.
Right on.
Yeah, is that some software?
Yeah, it's better than
databases.
I'm going by voter data that I bought a year ago, and I type out all the streets, and it's kind of time consuming. It'd be a lot easier to have if we had PDI.
Oh yeah, just give someone a block.
Yeah, we could always just keep doing what we're doing, just going door to door and knock and see what happens,
Yeah.
see who answers.
Yeah, I mean, people are getting informed about stuff that they perhaps didn't know about. It's beyond doing Facebook or online stuff. It's person to person, and looking people in the face and letting them know it's like your government, which you are assuming that is working for you, is not working for you. In fact, it's working against you. And here's a list of all the ways that which in this.
We're trying to bring Victuda to life. It's funny because I know so many activists in District 1, 3, 4, 5, and District 2. Hope they're not listening.
Lots of hardworking families who just don't have time.
They seem to be a little apathetic in
things.
District 2. So sometimes I get inspired by thinking of the story of Ezekiel in the Valley of Dry Bones, where he's standing on a hill and looking at all these bones, and the the Lord gives him the power to make them all reconnect and start dancing and stuff.
Hey, all right.
That's what me and Fred do.
Dance around the fire.
No, we bring the bones to life.
Bones to life. That's the subtitle of the campaign.
Billy Bones.
Bringing your bones to life.
Bring your bones to life.
District 2 bones.
That could be misconstrued.
All right. Yeah, and you get a snazzy shirt, right, if you join the volunteer efforts.
Can they see it?
Yeah, they can. Like I don't know how I feel about wearing a shirt with Jordan Brandman on it, but but yeah.
I'm still contemplating drawing a circle with a line through it with
Yeah.
Sharpie.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, he don't even look like that no more. He's much more like
He's
a
weird looking now.
Skeletor status.
Yeah, he's got bulging eyes, a mullet, and now it's a ponytail.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's corruption will suck the life out of you, I tell you. Yeah. All right. Well, Vern,
I guess if I mention that he wears a yarmulke now, that makes me anti-Semitic, so I won't mention it. But it adds to the look.
The mayor's going to walk through the door and label it hate speech. That's what he does.
Yeah. Well, we could say more controversial stuff right at the end. No,
like, better wrap this up now before he gets.
On that note,
we're gonna
Anaheim blog.
We're gonna get dinged by Big Brother. Yeah, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg's gonna appreciate this at all. No. Not one bit. All right, recall, Councilman Jordan Brandman, 2021. Get him. You got the links. You got the information.
You got the phone numbers.
Got the phone numbers.
Mix them.
Email them, message them, text them.
And it's all about making Anaheim better.
We're on the Nextdoor app also.
We want to bring back the city of kindness that
Denise Barnes is on.
Tom Tate started.
There you go. Yeah. Hello, neighbor.
Yes, hello, neighbor. Won't you be mine?
All right.
Yeah, we'll spin it like "Won't you be my neighbor?" Though. I think that'll be better.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank you
Fred
guys for having
Sigala
us so
Jr. and
Pleasure.
Vern Nelson for being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Very
Thanks for
cool.
coming.
Yeah.
Ow!
Oh man.
Yeah,
We're this show is totally getting flagged.
Talk a little more.
So, how are you feeling?
I'm good. We're gonna get canceled, but it happens one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Someday.
Join the club. Yeah. So, I mean, listen. These things about blues and reds, and as long as they got a D next to their name, then they're okay. It's not the business, and I think Anaheim is a very clear representative of them and their best interests, and not in the pockets of special interests. So, especially on the local level, you really see that playing out very, very much so. I grew up in Anaheim. Anaheim is in my heart forever. Like, my family still lives there. My grandma, a bunch of my uncles. Like this is like very personal and real and serious for me. And I get really mad. And I also think, like, man, I prefer perhaps at sometimes to get screwed over by Republicans than, because it hurts more when Democrats, whom you're assuming that are going to do right by you, do not. And, but Dr. Jose Moreno is, is a friend of the show, and, he's just really fighting the good fight. And sometimes I wonder, like, how can he put up with just the level of insult, of marginalization, of, and just the way that they try to stifle his voice, which is, the people's voice. They won't even talk about it. And that's because they know, they fear him. All they can do is try to label him as a far right, left radical, and Marxist and all these things that Trevor O'Neill calls him. But and that's all the right and that side can do for the people that are fighting the fight. But that's why we need good people, and so hopefully we get that in the next election, 2022, right around the corner. So a lot is up, at stake. Potentially a new mayor, including if people really don't like Harry, or there's a chance that perhaps, who knows, is going to step in and be the mayor that the city desperately needs. Because, man, Tom Tate, whom we had on the show, was really has left big shoes to fill, and they are not filled. No. And last thing, Harry City, in Indian Man really proves and shows you that it's not just about representation. It's like, oh, if only we had a blank in there, like whether it's a Latino or woman or, minority. Now we just have people that look like us that screw us over, just like, the white man, right? Like, or whatever.
Getting closer. Inching closer to justice. Yeah. And you know what I'd like to say about this, my last thoughts is like the timing of this. I don't know a lot about Anaheim politics, but it looks like you guys have a lot of good reasons, right? We need people-driven representation. This isn't just some off-the-cuff like cancel campaign or anything. What he said matters, but man, the substance of this campaign. Okay, so yeah, God bless you doing the Lord's work.
Absolutely. So get involved and oppose and propose. You don't like something, like oppose it, but then, what is your proposition for what will work? And are you willing to put in the work for that which will work?
Whoa.
Work to the work.
That was almost a poem.
I know. I'm getting back into it, baby.
Man. You've been writing. You've been in the lab, huh?
Been in the lab. Spaghetti. 8 Mile reference. Okay. I made an 8 Mile pun today. I said, I'm down to. I'm just here to get the cheddar, Bob. Oh. That was fitting. Thank you, audio video engineer Edgar.
I love that Edgar knows I won't know enough about the subject to understand what he said. He was his own point with that one. Yeah.
Because it's like B Rabbit. That was Eminem, and his friend, the other white dude, and his crew was called Cheddar Bob. So Cheddar.
It was funnier me not knowing. That was great.
I know. I had to explain a joke. You made me do that.
Seth Rogen tried out for that role.
That's right. He did. He talked about that. All right. Yeah. Matt Cedillo tried out for the role of Dylan Thompson, but
he should have taken.
Yeah, he will.
He will one
eventually.
Day.
When's he gonna be on again?
Yeah.
Soon enough.
Great.
Sooner than later.
So I want to thank everybody that tuned in. Please like our page. Please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, all sorts of places where you can find us. I want to thank Edgar Silva, Iron Lion Media Studios. Hit him up if you want your own podcast or record your music video.
Buttons.
I hear that there's a hot new music video from a local Latinx band that's going to be coming out soon. What? He had his finger on.
Around pressing the buttons for.
Yeah. And so it's been real. Thank you so much, Dylan
You're
Thompson.
welcome.
Yeah, for being here, a little too close, but here nonetheless.
Yeah, we need some
6 feet, please.
We should get some social distancing here before we get some Delta going.
I want to thank everybody that tuned in yet again, from Dylan Thompson and Jose Gloria and all of us here in It's Happening family. We are signing off. It's happening!
Woo! Now you can dance again.
No es libertad, lo que tú vives es vulgar. Ser un esclavo sin descansar mientras que el burgués se aprovecha de tus labores. Hay que luchar para vencer este sistema capital. Hay que leer